Welcome to the 14th in my series on Pirkei Avot. We are now on the 14th text in the first chapter, and we are on the third of three statements, at least in this first chapter, from Hillel. As opposed to yesterday's text, the previous text, which was oddly enough in Aramaic, we are now returning to Hebrew from Hillel. Now this starts off by saying, Hu haya omer, he used to say, which intimates that it was a common expression that he would go around frequently. That was just part of the wisdom he liked to share. This, however, as opposed to his previous couple of statements, which had four aspects to it, returns to the tripartite aspect, the three-piece aspect that was common for most of the rest of this chapter that we have seen. So this is actually a fairly it's fairly popular even in these days. So here are the three parts. The first is, if I am not for myself. If I'm not for myself, who is? Who will be for me? Pretty straightforward. And this is not as particularly socioculturally, contextually oriented. It's something I think is an evergreen piece of wisdom. It's always fascinating. If I'm not even for myself, who will be for me? And look, maybe someone will be for you. Maybe you have a certain special someone in your life that will look out for you. But ultimately, if you won't even think about you, who will? The second, if I am for myself, what am I? Right? Now, this doesn't sound like if I am standing up, this doesn't sound like I wasn't for myself, I should be for myself. What am I? I think really Hillel is going more for if I'm only for myself. Although it opens up an ambiguity. The ambiguity here is, in the second statement by Hillel, does this mean only for myself? It's an easy Hebrew word to insert, rak, if I'm only for myself. And yet Hillel doesn't use that one simple little word here. So the question is, if I am for myself, what am I? Which does not, I do not think that it means only for oneself, but when I am for myself, what am I? What does that make me? How much am I for myself? How much am I perhaps only for myself? I imagine it along the lines of a spectrum, entirely for oneself, entirely not for oneself. And then where in that spectrum does one find oneself, and where does that position oneself within a broader social environment? These are great questions, which obviously only we are equipped to answer, and we all have to understand how much we are for ourselves and how much we're not. But it's also, as he stakes out in the very first piece of advice, you really should not be not for oneself. You have to at least stand up for yourself. The third, however, departs from the first two, which is, if not now, when? If not now, when? Really great question, because it reminds me of the very cynical expression, why do something today when you can put it off for tomorrow? It's a really cynical thing. But the non-cynical articulation of that expression is, why put off until tomorrow what you can do today? Obviously, we have all sorts of reasons in our own lives for pushing things down the road, for procrastinating, and yet sometimes it's just best just to get it done. If not now, when are you really going to do it? It reminds me of a funny saying that I've seen in the year of 2020 with all the quarantining of, back in 2018, 2019, I thought, if only I had a lot of time at home, I would clean up my house. And then people realized in the year of the quarantining in 2020, that wasn't it. It wasn't it. It wasn't having the time to only just be at home. So clearly, there's something to be said about doing. If you really want to do something, do it. Make sure you just get it out of your system, check it off of your list, and really make the effort to get things done. So Hillel reverts to a tripartite aspect of wisdom, and so those are his. So where on the spectrum are you for yourself? What does that make you within a broader societal and social context? And also, are you going to get things done? Do you really want to get things done? If you do, how serious are you about getting it done? Then just do it now. This is some good sort of back pocket wisdom. Thinking about, are you really for yourself? And do you really only want to be for yourself? Thinking along the lines of a spectrum. Entirely being about yourself, entirely not being about oneself, and then finding a balance and where it makes sense within one's own social and cultural context. So I hope that was helpful, and if not now, when? All right, thank you so much for watching.